We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Jones Angel, Adam Lucas here with you. We are festive. It is the holiday season. We're excited to be here with you for our weekend recap presented by Wells Fargo. But Adam, we are excited to be here, but a difficult week certainly for the Tar Heels from start to finish. It has just been one of those weeks for Carolina. We'll start with women's soccer, right on the cusp, Adam, of a 23rd national title. You were there in Cary. Tar Heels led 2-0 in the second half. UCLA, with a flurry of goals, ties it, wins in overtime. Some controversy as well on the goal that occurred with less than 30 seconds left to tie the game, but just heartbreak for Carolina women's soccer.
Sorry, Jones, I hadn't watched any games in like 2 weeks because I've been busy wrapping presents.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, just a devastating loss for Carolina women's soccer. A great game from former podcast Avery Patterson, who scored a pair of goals off headers and was sensational. And Carolina, really, it felt like controlled play for the first 70-ish minutes of the match. But then things just changed, and then the play with 16 seconds left when Emmy Allen basically rendered unable to get to the ball, but it was ruled a goal, and then UCLA scored in overtime to win the national title. Heartbreaking way for Carolina to lose a national championship and to be so close in front of such a great crowd. Huge turnout from across Carolina athletics, across Chapel Hill, across just the Carolina fan world. Sensational crowd in Cary who went home, unfortunately, unhappy.
Adam, the one piece of good news, or the silver lining, is that this is a team that is going to have a lot of its key contributors back. They dealt with some injuries on the back line this year that were a challenge. So not that they ever go away, but this is a team that is expected to be one of the best again next season.
Wouldn't you have liked to have had Macy Bell standing on that back line when that second UCLA goal went in? That's one of, if not your best defenders and one of your tallest players. But Macy unavailable for the entire season due to injury. You, in theory, will get her back next year, and Tar Heels should be, as usual, stacked again, bringing in yet another great recruiting class.
All right, let's head to the football field, Adam. Carolina competing in the ACC Championship this past Saturday in Charlotte. The final score lopsided, 39-10, Clemson with the victory over Carolina. The game didn't feel quite that lopsided, at least through the first 2.5 quarters. Tar Heels had the ball in the red zone trying to score to get within a score when then Clemson had a pick six that really decided the game. And Adam, it felt like, and we talked about this on the audio version of the podcast this week, it felt like this game kind of summed up where the two teams are right now. Carolina was good enough to compete and move the ball and get to the cusp of where it needed to be, but then when it was time to make a play, every crucial play, it felt like Clemson was the one that made it.
They made all the biggest plays in the game, and that's what you do when you regularly win ACC championships. And when you're trying to get to that point, you have to learn how to make those plays, and Carolina was not able to do it, either really offensively or defensively. Clemson just controlled the game, and credit to the Tigers, because you wondered, would they feel like they had much to play for? They're used to being in the playoff and had just lost a tough one to their big rival, South Carolina, but they did come ready to play. Played very well and well enough to beat the Tar Heels.
Tar Heels finished the season pre-bowl at 9-4, still Coastal Division champions, of course. And Adam, a quality year in total. Tar Heels, though, disappointed with how things have gone these last few weeks, and now they look forward to the Holiday Bowl. It is December 28th in San Diego. They'll have their first ever meeting with Oregon, a high-quality team, of course. But Adam, between now and then, it is just this silly season, quite honestly, for college football, where you have the early signing day, you have the transfer portal opening up. Carolina already has players in there, as does every school across the country. It is perhaps, and this is a big statement because there's a lot of challenging time periods, it's perhaps the most challenging 3 weeks for a college football staff out there.
And used to be kind of a sleepy week between the end of the regular season and the start of bowl practice if you were fortunate enough to go to a bowl. Then the early signing period started becoming more important and essentially much more important than the later signing period. But then you add in the transfer portal, which is essentially its own recruiting cycle. And it is a very hectic schedule for everyone involved in the world of college football right now between now and the end of the year. And now you add in that the Tar Heels are going to be going to San Diego to play a very good Oregon team.
One piece of news that we wanted to tell you from the football side as well, Adam, what a terrific honor for Tylee Kraft as he was given the Disney Spirit Award. That will be awarded at the College Football Award Ceremony this week on Thursday. And Tylee, of course, his battle with cancer has been well documented. We had Tylee on the audio podcast a couple of weeks ago. Really enjoyed our conversation with him. And Adam, such a difficult and challenging situation that has been thrust on a young guy, and he has handled it with nothing but maturity and class.
And as we've talked about, Carolina's won quite a few conference awards and regional awards here towards the end of the year. That's a national award. So that's a national honor that folks felt Tylee Kraft was the most inspirational player in college football. And we've talked to him, and hopefully you've heard him talk to us. And I think you'd agree once you hear his story. And his teammates have talked about how great it's been to have him around this entire year. Just remind him how to keep things in perspective.
All right, let's go to the basketball side of things. Men's basketball drops a pair this week, both on the road. Adam, it is now that long road trip finally over. 5 games, over 6,000 miles traveled in less than 2 weeks, playing games at 3 different locations in 3 different time zones. And all those are excuses, I get it. But it was a very difficult road trip, and Carolina didn't play well enough. Then lost to Indiana on Wednesday, then fell at Virginia Tech on Sunday. They're finally back at home this Saturday against Georgia Tech, and an important week certainly for the Tar Heels, both finishing up exams and on the basketball court to try and see if they can take some steps forward here.
I think when you looked at that trip on paper, you thought, well, if the Tar Heels don't play well, this has the potential to go poorly. Then you add in Carolina played without Armando Bacot on Sunday. They played without DeMarco Dunn, who had played really well. They were without him in Blacksburg on Sunday. So all the variables went to the negative side on this trip. But it's over now. And you've got a chance to come home, which is where Carolina's wanted to be for almost a month. You've got a chance to play a home conference game that you have to win against Georgia Tech on Saturday in front of what should be a great Smith Center crowd Saturday afternoon. And you need to start playing better. Coach Davis talked with Jones on the radio show and on the video earlier this week. He saw some things perhaps in that Virginia Tech game he might want to do a little differently. We'll be interested to see how many of those things are implemented on Saturday and beyond.
3:15 odd time on Saturday. We'll be on the air radio-wise at 2 p.m. Then Carolina also home again next week on Tuesday as they host the Citadel. Women's basketball, no action this week. They did play in the middle of the week. Last week fell in the ACC Big Ten Challenge to Indiana, who was ranked number 5 in the country. Tar Heels do drop a couple of positions in the AP poll, still top 10 at number 8. They are back in action against UNCW Wednesday night in Carmichael. That is at 6 p.m. And then they'll be at home Sunday afternoon as well at 1 o'clock when they host Wofford. Adam, finishing things up, we're going to go to the cross-country side of things, and what an honor for Parker Wolf, a name that you've probably heard us say here over the last couple of years for Carolina, named the ACC Men's Runner of the Year. He is the first Carolina cross-country athlete, men's or women's, to earn that award. It's been going for 10 years now, and Parker gets that honor this season.
He's a 2-time All-America, won it in 2021 and 2022. Highest ACC finisher at this year's NCAA championships. He finished 9th, and it might have been easy to miss how well the men's and women's cross-country programs did because there was a ton going on then. First time in program history that the men and the women have finished in the top 10 in the same year nationally, so that clearly a program on the rise.
All right, we appreciate you being with us. We have no video pod interview this week, but we will be back on Thursday as we take a trip through the Social Drive. And don't forget, we have our audio podcast coming out. One came out earlier today. Will Shaver from men's basketball, our guest, and then we'll be back with you audio-wise on Friday as well. But for now, we say goodbye. Thanks for joining us on the Carolina Insider.